All right, so this is going to be a one take. This is going to be one of the longer rants. I'm trying not to be negative about it. This is more so just some form of objective criticism with a little bit of, emotional spillage. But I'm just really, really, really frustrated with this notion where major financial regulatory bodies are able to be complacent and completely negligent in almost every area in our markets. And for some reason, that is palpable to those who are supposed to be enforcing them. That it is somehow permissible for trillions of dollars to be managed in the most lackluster and oversighted way possible. I get there's never going to be any form of perfect surveillance or enforcement of rules. That's just plain and simple. That's actually what keeps the world going round, if you want to get really philosophical about it. The problem I have is that there is such decadence and complacency by those who are supposed to be protecting our markets, and thus the people within them, that it's almost... I'm saying the word almost because I can't factually say this or definitively state this, but it's almost like it's a game, right? It's almost a game that people are able to get away with some of the most heinous crimes that affect everyone in our market. And just for the sake of context here, the US dollar is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It is this force to be reckoned with, despite the fact that its value is teetering on the edge of collapse. I digress. The US dollar is the anchor point for every piece of modern economies throughout the world. It doesn't matter who you are or what you barter with, you will find that there is the US dollar somewhere tangled up in that mess. And because of this, there should be the enforcement, and there should be the responsibility, and there should be accountability for those who are supposed to be protecting the value of it. Just plain and simple. The fact that there is so much oversight to this, that somehow people can just get away with meandering with markets and being caught in fraud and being caught in complacency that eventually becomes legal, it just baffles me. It baffles me because, again, any transaction that you pull from the past 300 years, the US dollar is going to be some integral part to that transaction. The fact that people can get away with fucking with the value of it, whether it has to do with equities or currency exchange or crypto or whatever, right? I'm proponents of all of these. The problem is that the bodies that are supposed to be enforcing the integrity of these valuations to whatever security it is are so goddamn complacent. They don't care. It's almost like they don't care. And I'm just, out of the respect to the system that I like to have some form of faith in, I will continue to say it's almost like, or some synonym that doesn't lead to some definitive conclusion. My point being, you have to think about the calamities, the ripples of the complacencies that we've found. It started off with just meme stocks. It started off with this craze back in January of 21, where you had these securities that were seemingly fundamentally no longer to be existent. There was no fundamental argument for the valuations of these companies. And then you had the worst pandemic to hit our globe in almost 100 years. And so, of course, if you're somebody on Wall Street, it was a smart play to try and short these companies into bankruptcy. If you're somebody who's from Wall Street, if you're somebody who is a short seller, yes, this is a legitimate and arguably good thesis. The problem is that they recovered. And now these companies are taking on the world. They've changed their entire approach to their own business models. And now they're a part of the future and even paving the way into the future. Still, the fact that these companies were caught being naked short sold, i.e. GameStop at 240% short interest, that figure was provided by the SEC. Somehow, that 240% short interest, that's 2.5 times the float, 2.5 times the amount of shares in existence were sold short. Somehow that just vanished. It vanished overnight. And then you start to wonder, you start Googling a little bit into naked short selling, and then you realize that this is not an uncommon thing. Okay, well, if you can naked short sell to whatever degree, no matter what the stock is, it doesn't really matter. The principle is, you can sell things that don't exist and reap the benefits of that. You acquire the capital of that transaction. It's a form of printing money that shouldn't exist. It's a form of creating money that shouldn't exist. It cycles back all to, the fundamental laws of the universe. Like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And you can't destroy or create energy or mass. You can only transfer it. Things like this, right? You find this in monetary systems because monetary systems are built upon the universe at which these laws are found. And so if you try to go against what the laws of the universe say in a system that has inherited the rules of said universe, you create problems. This is why printing money is not a feasible solution to hyperinflation. This is why printing money is not a feasible solution to rudimentary issues within an economic system, yet we still have officials and those who are at the top of the food chain who say otherwise. And somehow it just becomes okay. And then we go back and look 10 years later when everything has collapsed on itself and we wonder, how did that happen? Oh, we have all these bullshit mortgage-backed securities that shouldn't have existed to begin with. We have all these variable interest rates that those who signed people up for them knew would not be paid and they would all default. And thus would cascade into every other subprime mortgage of whatever sort with whatever AAA go fuck yourself rating. And oh, whoopsie-doo, now the whole entire American public and the world around them gets to pay the price. And still, that was almost 15 years ago. And here we are, still dealing with the repercussions, this time just in a different part of the world. And that's the most direct example, being Evergrande. Now we're still dealing with the consequences of it because now we're finding the same problem within our equities. We have these synthetic instances within our markets, whether it's synthetic shares, synthetic options, synthetic this and that. It's not that the synthetic part is the problem. It's the fact that it is replacing the core input of what the real thing is supposed to be. You're swapping these, no pun intended, you're swapping legitimate securities for synthetic versions of it and expecting the whole entire system to still proceed with a synthetic version of itself. And then you look around and wonder what the fuck happened. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. We've had these ETFs created by BlackRock be downgraded to triple B. That was 4 months ago. 4 months ago. So not only are we seeing these parallels of '08, but now we have these bundled up securities being downgraded in credit rating. Huh. And still, you look around and you wonder, well, what the hell happened? What went wrong? And then, we look to our officials and we look to those who are supposed to be serving the public, whatever role you want to define that as, government or judiciary, whatever. And then you get the same boilerplate speech of, well, it was about 6 months ago, there was a group of nefarious actors within our markets who were taking advantage of the privileges of facilitating liquidity for other market participants and for the liquidity of our own markets during times of chaos and uncertainty, and they just so happened to fuck everybody by over-levering themselves in every degree possible. Change the face, change the speech. Same points, same rhetoric, same bullshit. And we all wonder, what the fuck happened? I'm going to leave it at that.